Good day, everyone. Welcome to C&T Tutors online class. I am Adedayo, and I'll be taking us through different questions from the last Neco SSC 2025, particularly CRS, Christian Religious Studies. All right, we have the first question with us. Adam called Eve human because she was dash. Adam called Eve human because she was dash. Option A, she was a weaker sex. Obviously, that will not be a good answer because the fact that she was a weaker sex had nothing to do with with her being named human. Option B, she was condemned to suffering. We never had any accounts of that in the scriptures. And then let's look at option D, the cause of his woes. Not really. So the Bible did not really stipulate that the name was given to her as a result of the fact that she caused his woes. So the best answer we can go for here is option C. She was taken out of man, and we can see that in Genesis chapter 2, around verse 23, where we were told that her name shall be called human because she was taken out of a man. We all know the circumstances that surrounded the creation of Eve. Our creation came out of necessity. There was a need to create and have a name for companionship because the man was actually lonely. I mean, Adam was lonely in the Garden of Eden, and there was a need for companionship. And God said it was not actually okay for the man to be alone, and there was a need to create a helpmate for him, and that was exactly what God did. And the fact that the woman was created directly from his bones actually necessitated him to name his wife human. Said she shall be called human because she was taken out of man. So the answer to this question is option C. Question number 2. Which of the following was not among the items that Jonathan gave to David to acknowledge his friendship? Yeah, let's start by telling you that the relationship between Jonathan and David started after the battle between the Israelites and the Philistines, where David defeated Goliath, of one of the champions of the Philistines. And we realize that we're told in 1 Samuel chapter 18, verse 4, that the relationship between them began to blossom. And then this guy called Jonathan proceeded to hand over some of his items to David, his new friend. So one of the things he gave him was hammer in option A, bow in option B, girdle in option C, and sword in option E. So the only odd option here is option D, horse. He never gave David any horse. So the answer is option D. Question 3. Reuben advised his brothers against killing Joseph, but to cast him into a pit because dash. A. He did not want them to know when he would kill him. Well, not exactly. Okay, to make it simpler, we're told in that particular passage that the brothers of Joseph saw him approaching. Don't forget, he already went to the land of Shechem as instructed by his father to look for his brothers and at least check on them and see if they are doing well. Along the line, he didn't find them there, and he had to resort to wandering about in the bush until he was found by a good Samaritan who told him to go to Dothan, as his brothers were already in Dothan at that particular time. So as he was approaching the city, he found his brothers and they saw him from afar. And they said, wow, look at this dreamer. Let us kill him and see what will become of his dreams. And Reuben was there to rescue him. He said, no, let us not kill him. Let us cast him into a pit. And the major reason why he wanted to do this was not really because he had any special love for his brother, but because he wanted to preserve him from being killed in order not to bring sorrow to their father Jacob. So the major reason why he protected Joseph from being killed by the other brothers was the fact that he never wanted his father to be sorrowful. So looking at these options, option E says he wanted to rescue him afterwards, and that's the perfect answer. He wanted to rescue him afterwards and send him back home to his father in peace. Of course, the father was old at that time, and he never wanted the father to encounter or experience any sorrowful events at that old age. So, of course, he was the first child, and he knew better when it comes to actually looking after the interests of his father. So the answer here is option E. He wanted to rescue him afterwards and allow him to go to his father in peace. Question 4. How many people did Moses send to spy the land of Canaan? Of course, this is a very popular event in the Bible. There were 12 in number. He selected one representative from each of the available 12 tribes of Israel. So the answer is 12. And don't forget that when they got there, they spied the land. They saw some things. They saw the land. The land was flowing with milk and honey, of course. But there was a negative side to their assignment. They saw the sons of Anak, giants, mighty giants in the land, and that really scared them. So upon getting back to Moses and the other people, they said, wow, we are like grasshoppers before these people. We are not capable of actually possessing this land. We can't possess this land. And only Joshua and Caleb were positive enough to affirm that they were capable of possessing the land. And we know what actually became of them. Both Joseph and Joshua and Caleb, as well as the other 10 that brought back evil reports. Those guys that brought back evil reports were not able to actually make it into the promised land. They all perished in the wilderness. Why? Joshua and Caleb actually enjoyed favor from God for their positive reports. And that takes us to question 5. The king that gave Ezra permission to go and reorganize the religious life of Judah was Dash. It's not Ahasuerus. Ahasuerus was the king that served during the days of Esther, the queen. It's not Cyrus. Cyrus was the king during the time of Nehemiah, even though he was also there during the rebuilding of the temple. As a matter of fact, the rebuilding of the temple started under his very watch. It was the one that actually gave them the permission to go and rebuild the temple in Jerusalem before the whole project was suspended under Ahasuerus and Artaxerxes, and it later came back to life under the king Darius. So, but for this particular question, they said the king that gave Ezra permission to go and reorganize the religious life of Judah was Dash. The answer to this question is King Artaxerxes. King Artaxerxes. It was King Artaxerxes that actually permitted them to go back to their land, and he handed over to Ezra, who was a scribe. He was a scribe, and then Ezra was given the responsibility of reorganizing their religious life and trying to reconcile them with their creator. So that is that about that. The answer here is option B. And that brings us to the end of this particular session. Thank you for sticking with us all through. See you next time. I remain Adedayo.